Hello, good morning, or whatever it is. A couple things different. There's at least two different things happening right now. I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's possibly somebody watching on Twitch. So, the two different things are, one, obvious. Hermit's done. If you've been following my social media, you know that. The other thing is we're multi-streaming. We are streaming both to Twitch and YouTube simultaneously. The reason for that is many and varied. It is somewhat coincidental with the problems Twitch is currently having, although I am participating in the day off Twitch thing. And this just kind of lined up with that perfectly. Heath, hello. This is the first time I'm streaming on YouTube. You're on YouTube, I believe. Yes. So hi, I do have like a unified chat up so I can read both Twitch and YouTube. So welcome. I don't know if you've caught the archives of the build streams before, but this is basically what I do. I usually stream twice a week, sometimes more than that. But I build professional puppets as my 9-to-5 job, so sometimes I just hit the button that says stream and I build them on stream because that's, you know, fun and interesting. But yeah, so we are multi-streaming for the first time ever, just because it struck me that I have more followers on YouTube than I do on Twitch, and so it seemed like maybe I should cater to those people as well as Twitch. Like I'm kind of splitting the attention span of my audience, and I'd like to kind of bring everybody in rather than exclude people, right? And it's tough to get people to jump around platforms. So if I can bring my content to other people where they are, rather than having to come to some one platform or another, it seems to me a more advantageous approach for everybody. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to give this a shot. Wow, there's another person on YouTube. Well, actually, YouTube is beating Twitch right now for viewer count, so that's interesting. I'm gonna try this out for a while. We'll see how it goes. I may keep it like this. If it's obvious one platform is super more active than the other, I may go exclusive, but there's really no reason for me to go exclusive at this time. The only reason I would ever decide to only stick to one platform is like, you know, on Twitch, I'm not sure what it is on YouTube, but on Twitch, it's like to become partnered, you need to like sign an exclusivity deal. And it's like, I'll never get that big. The puppet building is not going to be that popular. But, so there we go. We're doing the thing. Now, because Kermit's behind me. It's a little distracting. So we're doing something today. Now, today, is the 30th of August, and I've already done all the building I need to do for the shop, so I have some time to just work on my own stuff. So what we are doing today is a little something for the YouTube show, because it's the first YouTube stream. So if you're on YouTube, you I hope know about the Oracle, and I'm slowly kind of building the channel back up again. And reintroducing characters. Now, for the first season, Zap, how you doing? Zap, I should tell you, that's weird. Hang on. Zap shouldn't have been able to sub. Did you sub, Zap? Oh, wait a minute. Zap, you're on YouTube right now, aren't you? This is confusing. Zep, if you are on YouTube, that makes sense. I gotta separate my notifications to ones that are clearly from Twitch and ones that are clearly from YouTube, because YouTube calls followers subs. No Twitch. Okay, Zep, this is weird because you shouldn't have been able to sub. Did you just resub because you shouldn't have been able to? I took affiliate off of my account. There shouldn't be a sub button there, but I'll get in touch with Twitch and figure that out. Nick, hello. How are you on YouTube? Wow. Maybe this multi-streaming thing is going to work out, huh? I subbed in advance, so it's still lingering. Yeah, probably, yeah. So, yeah, I am multi-streaming, Zep. So people on YouTube aren't going to see the Twitch chat. People on Twitch aren't going to see the YouTube chat, but I see a unified chat. So if I'm talking to somebody, it doesn't seem like it's on your platform. I'm talking to someone on the other platform. However, we should probably get into it and not worry about the technicality. So far, this is going pretty good. I checked the delay because unfortunately with Restream, you can't do like a test or anything. You just gotta have to dive in. And there's like maybe another second or two of delay. I was a little bit worried about how much delay it would have, but it seems fine. So I think we're just gonna go ahead. So what are we doing? Building something for the YouTube channel. Specifically, see, that's Jelly Roll 2.0. Now I'm rebuilding all the puppets for the Oracle for the new season because the original puppets, most of them weren't built by me, and I want the current crop, as it were, to all be mine. So I redesigned and rebuilt Jelly Roll, and I'm not really crazy about it. I don't like his head shape. Actually, we can go to, let's see, how about this camera? The people on YouTube aren't used to the multi-camera setup here. So here's the current state of Jelly Roll, and it's fine. We'll grab. Let's put him on here and show. I like, his size and his like body form and all that stuff is good, but I don't like the head shape. The head shape didn't come out the way I wanted it to. It's too kind of pointy. His mouth is too wide. There's not enough of a chin. I was messing around, and this is what it ended up with, and I decided I don't really like it. Yo, picky, man. Yes, I am. So we're gonna rebuild. We're gonna make Jelly Roll a new head. That's the agenda for today. So let's get to the top-down camera here. I'm gonna move Jelly Roll out of the way because this is not a very flattering angle to see Jelly Roll from. There we go. Perfect. Excellent. So two things. Well, I realized that in terms of the head shape, I already have a head shape I really like, and it's the head shape for the smalls. I don't think I have a small. Yes, I do. Oh, so excuse me for being in front of the camera here. So all y'all may recognize the smalls. These are one of the standard models for the shop. I really like this head shape. This head shape would be perfect for Jelly Roll. So all I really have to do is make a small, but just the head, and then replace the head on current Jelly Roll. So that's what we're doing. Now, related to that, one problem that I've had for a while is the grips, particularly in the smalls. Because I do elastic straps, since they're like a one-size-fits-all solution, they can be a bit, it's easy for your fingers to slip out. They're not very grippy. And particularly with something the size of the small, it's so small that it actually kind of pushes your fingers out. It's actually really hard to keep the grips in there. So what I'm doing is I'm changing up my grip style. It's gonna take a little bit more work, but I think it'll be worth it. And I'm doing these leather finger loops, which is kind of the preferred professional puppet style anyway. But with something as small as a small, it really is just like one loop in the bottom, one loop in the top. It kind of goes on like that. But these should hold a whole lot better than the elastic straps. So this is the first time I'm making one of these mouth plates. So I'm doing it with a puppet that's for me, not for the shop, to just kind of test it out and make sure that it's going to be all the way I want it. So that's what we're doing. First step, building the mouth plate. Here we go. Diving in. So I'm getting out my small patterns. And then I'm going to build a mouth plate. And then we're going to make the pattern for the head. It's going to be a little bit like an alteration of the small head. But we'll get this out anyway. There's the pattern for that. And we're just going to take this and cut this off here. But the skull is going to be a bit different, because the skull is going to have like a, like an opening. We'll get there. We'll get there in a minute. First thing we got to do is build a mouth plate. So I got to get some plastic. I don't really have the plastic I like to use, so we'll use the plastic I second like to use. Well, you know what? Rather than that, why don't I try, since this is for me and I don't have to, if it goes wrong, then I can just remake it and no harm, no foul. I'm going to make a small mouthplate out of the very thin plastic that I usually make the greebly mouthplates out of. Because this is slightly flexible. Now, small mouthplates don't need to be flexible, but I'm curious as to what it would be like if it was a little bit flexy. Who knows? We could have some new performance opportunities here. I also want to see how well this leather glues to the plastic, because that's one of the questions. Plastic is non-porous, and so it can be tough to get glue to adhere to it. So the first thing we do, I've already done it a bit, but I'm going to do it a bit more, is we give this a rough sanding to create a texture and to take some of the gloss off. This is like a heavy grit sandpaper as well, so it's going to really kind of chew it up, and that's what we want. We don't want this nice and smooth. We want to feel some roughness on here. On the back, it's already textured. It's got like this raised waffly kind of texture. I think maybe if I get this closer to the camera, you can kind of see it's got this sort of gridded, right? The glossiness isn't great, but there's really, like, that doesn't do anything. That just sands down the tips of the little bumps. So I'm not going to worry about it on that side. This side is going to be the interior. So this is the side that the leather is going to get glued to. So we'll just have to see how that goes. This is a complete experiment. I may have to end up laminating the plastic in some ultra suede just to give it something to glue onto, but we'll see. We'll see when we get there. I'm going to try it without first, and then we'll just see how it holds. I need... There we go. So, Hurricane Ida, huh? Doesn't look like it was too bad. It wasn't as bad as people were afraid. I'm going to do it like this so we have a nice edge. But quite a bit of damage in New Orleans. Including, you all saw my social media, you know about this, the Karnofsky building on Rampart Street, which is a historical site, very important to the history of jazz because it was where Louis Armstrong was employed as a young boy by a family who sort of took him in and made sure he was fed and actually gave him the money, or loaned him the money, I believe, to buy his first coronet. Kind of important. Oh wait, did I do that wrong? No, I didn't do that wrong. This is the upper. Yep. That building collapsed in the hurricane. Fortunately, it is now just like straight up gone. There's nothing left. Too much water on the roof built up. It had been derelict for quite a while. Still, sad loss of an important historic site. Okay, so as usual, I'm just going to eyeball our lip guide here. I just like to put this in to give me an idea of where we're going. Okay. So, cut these out. I have no idea how this is going to go with this thin plastic. Might be interesting, it might not work at all. Only one way to find out. Give it a try. I think it'll be fine. This is small enough that the amount of flex in the plastic really won't matter. I may even be able to make Jelly Roll like frown and smile because it's all flexible. Okay, put this back because we don't need it anymore. Up the Bud, hello, how are you on Twitch? We are, if it seems a bit weird, we are multi-streaming. We're streaming both to this camera. We are streaming both to Twitch and YouTube right now. So if I'm talking to somebody who isn't in Twitch chat, they're probably in YouTube chat or vice versa. I'm good. I hope you are well. I hope you're nowhere near the hurricane. Or now I guess it's a tropical storm. It's been downgraded, thankfully. I'm just going to file down these edges to make sure that we don't have any sharp surfaces against foam or fleece. Or it's entirely possible I'm just going nuts. It's true. It is absolutely an option. Every day. I'll tell you, this is the first time I'm doing any work since I finished Kermit, and just knowing that's behind me is a bit distracting. It's a whole thing. It's been that build. Let me tell you, literally about 2 years in the making. Halatia, hello. Good evening. We're all international and everything. Thank you, Heath. I am quite pleased. There's problems. It ain't perfect, but it's close enough. The important thing and the hardest thing with that build, Kermit as a piece of engineering, you might say, is actually quite simple. But the devil's in the details with Kermit. He's deceptively simple. Anything is off, even a little bit, it really throws the whole build off. So it was a lot of research into how has Kermit changed over the years? What exactly are the design parameters? How big are his eyes? Like it was a lot. It was a lot. To get that right, it was a lot. And it's not, I can point out all the flaws because I see them. But again, that's the practice Kermit. The real Kermit's coming up. But the important thing for me was that I wanted to make sure that when you look at it, it's like it's immediately Kermit. That was the important thing, right? Because I've seen lots of Kermits, and if there's something even slightly off about it, you just feel it immediately, and there's just something a little bit jarring about it. And I was trying, that's what I wanted to avoid with this build, and I think I got there. It ain't the best Kermit that's ever been built, but it's not bad. Okay. So now that we've got our 3 pieces of mouth plate, this is going to be interesting because we're not going to drill anything. We're going to build the hinge. Get a pen and some gaff tape. So far, we're neck and neck on YouTube and Twitch reviewers, so maybe this will be worth doing on the regular. It's a bit of a surprise, to be honest. Okay, so the non-textured side is going to be the outside, as it were. This is the interior of the mouth. So we're going to start there. And don't really have to worry about the tape having like a raised edge, because this is going to be black on the inside, so you won't really see it. If this was red, I'd worry. I'd do a little bit of trimming just to make sure we don't have a raised bump on the interior, because you may see it when the fabric goes on, but in this case, it'll probably be fine. So there's the exterior of the hinge. We're just going to trim that up. I'm going to try this first without laminate. I'd like to avoid laminating if I can with this new grip style, but I may have to. Leather takes this glue very, very well. It's kind of what it's intended for. It is like shoemaking adhesive. And so leather is one of the things that it does really well, but unfortunately plastic being non-porous, you can run into some issues. So, I'm going to build the interior of the hinge. Okay, so we know this is the top, so we're going to start there. It doesn't really matter where we start, but I don't know if this tape is going to stick very well on this interior surface. That's an interesting point. I may end up laminating it after all, but let's just see how it goes. We'll give this a run first, and then if we have to, we'll laminate. This will actually be a good test to see if the glue is going to hold. Adhesion in general. One way or another, these leather loops are the way I'm going to be doing my grips from now on. Whether I have to laminate or not, this is still the way forward, because I don't like how slippy the elastic grips are. The only non-5-star review on the shop is somebody who was talking about that, and they are absolutely right. The elastic grips can be quite slippy. So I am taking steps to make sure that we avoid that in the future. So this is Jelly Roll. He's a character in The Oracle, my YouTube series. And this is a rebuild of the original puppet that was not built by me. And Jelly Roll is the living embodiment of jazz and the blues. But I wasn't happy with how this one turned out. Hello, Rory. Thank you. Nice to see you. We're probably going to be live streaming quite a bit on YouTube as well. We are live streaming to both Twitch and YouTube right now. So, enjoy. This is what I do all day, every day anyway. So, hopefully, I mean, these aren't really intended as tutorials per se, and like a structured thing, but I'm more than happy to answer questions, or, if you want to know anything, just go ahead and ask. Okay, so that, You know what we're going to do? We're going to put some glue down underneath that tape, and then we'll see how it goes. Ah, Friends Pennsylvania Films, hello. Wow, we're actually doing pretty good for the viewers. All right, I'm calling it right now. We're going to be multi-streaming until future notice or further notice. I think we're going to be sticking with this because we got some folks. So now what I have to do, because we're getting out the deadly barge, I got to open the window and turn the fan on. Which means, if you excuse me, I'm at a camera shot. Not really, actually. Oh, good. There's the old Oracle. The YouTube folks will recognize that. Which means it's going to get very hot in here very quickly because I've opened the window to the swamp air that is currently outside. This seems like it'll be fine. I just want to add a little bit of insurance onto this. So I'm going to peel this back. Easier said than done. Maybe it'll hold just fine, because I'm actually having trouble peeling it back. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit of glue under here just to give us a little bit of insurance. We got the folks. This is great. I should have done this a long time ago. As I was saying at the top of the show before everybody was here, I kind of realized the reason that we're doing this multi-streaming thing now is because I kind of realized I've been streaming on Twitch for a while, but I realized that I have like way more followers on YouTube than Twitch. I might as well include them, you know, by default in all this. Because I don't post up every single live stream archive. That would be foolish and tedious and laborious. But if I just live stream straight to YouTube, and this stuff will get archived there anyway, and then, you know, everyone has everything. Okay, let's see about this. Get in the barge. Now, usual safety instructions when using. No, I'm not using gasket rubber. This is actually very thin plastic from a flexible cutting mat. If I have an untouched one here. Here we go. So you get these from, like, you know, dollar stores or whatever. These are just very flexible cutting mats, and I like these more than gasket rubber for doing flexible mouth plates, because glue adheres to it a little bit better. I've yet to find gasket rubber that is available to me that will take glue very well without a whole lot of massaging. So this is what I use instead, and so far it's worked out really well. This is what's in my Kermit build, actually, factually. So what I'm doing right now is I've got this. This is the first time I'm making one of these mouth plates out of it, so that's why we're kind of experimenting. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I literally cut these with, like, you know, heavy shears. Like, it's really great as a quick and easy material. So I'm gonna get the hair dryer out. So yeah, you can get these on like Amazon, and they're really cheap too. They're like a couple of bucks for like a package of 4 kind of thing. So yeah, it's just like search for flexible cutting mat or something like that. I'm gonna mute the mic for a second. Our Twitch viewers know this already. When I hit the hair dryer, the filter that I have my mic on sometimes makes a really horrible noise. So I will spare you of that, and I'm gonna mute the mic, and I'll be right back just a sec. There we go. Yeah, I use upcycled plastic from storage bins. Is one of my standard materials. I use it all the time. Speaking of upcycled plastic, one thing I have found, we get these jugs of cat litter, and I can get these from you know, the side of a jug of cat litter. These are just like panels that I've cut off the side before we toss them to recycling. And they're very thin, they're very flexible. I wouldn't build a mouth plate out of these because they're not very strong, but what I do use these for is I stick these in the vacuum form machine. And I can make like eyelid shells and eyes and stuff out of these really easily. Little tip. Okay, so we're gonna put some glue on the other side now. I just wanna make sure this tape isn't gonna lift off over time. Jelly Roll's hand's a little too close to the glue. I'm going to move that. There you go. I want to get glue on Jelly Roll. I was gaming on Friday night as I was almost finished Kermit. I just had his legs pinned on. I hadn't sewn them yet. And I was having a glass of red wine. And I'm like, I should move Kermit far away from the red wine. Because that's the last thing I need, to be almost done and then to spill some red wine on the frog. That would be terrible. Anyway, muting the mic. All right, here we go. This is just to buy a little insurance to make sure this tape doesn't lift off. As you work a puppet, it gets hot and moist inside there, and sometimes adhesives could lift off because of that, and you don't want that. Okay, so let's mark, make sure we know that this is the top, this is the bottom. They are slightly different. So now I guess we glue the finger loops on. This is the first time I'm doing this style of grip. So this is all a big experiment. This is why this one isn't going to be for the shop. This is the new jelly roll, hopefully. So I have two. I made these ahead of time, and they're just bits of scrap leather. You want to have the unfinished side that's the glue side, and they're just like a loop that's stitched down to a little platform here. And this actually is the thumb loop, and then this one here is the middle finger loop, and that's basically how they'll go inside the puppet. This one I put on upside down though, so we have a finished edge and an unfinished edge. You really want the unfinished edge down that's taking the glue. So I'm actually going to roughly sand this a little bit to take some of that coating off, because that will push the glue away. Which is easier said than done. You just want to really kind of chew it up. Get a whole lot of surface on there. That's good. Okay, we'll give that a shot, see how it goes. Experimenting with a mold of an entire puppet, wow. Using Smooth-On's flex foam to cast it. No idea if it'll work out, they're gonna try. And coated in creature cast rubber. Interesting, interesting. That's a whole world I have yet to venture into, but it's definitely intriguing. Okay, so the thing about this is I'm gonna make sure that it's placed right. So you want to go a little bit more towards the front. The other thing is, you got to remember that these are going to be glued down. There's going to be, in fact, I'm going to mark this out. It's going to be about a ½ inch of foam around the whole circumference. So we don't want to go outside that. Yeah, flex foam, huh? This is the first I'm hearing of it, and I'm already intrigued. I may have to look into this. All right, so the thing I might have to do is trim some of this base off here. I think I'll do that. Flex foam is great, but there are like 15 types. Densities, oh yeah? I guess, yeah, it's just a matter of finding out what that all means and then how they react. Okay, this is the moment of truth here. We're gonna barge the leather finger loop. I don't really need to mark it because there really isn't any other place for it to be, so I'm just gonna put some glue down. Not a lot. I actually kind of overdid it a little bit on the glue. It'll be okay. I'll just dry it really well. Don't want to put both down at the same time. I want to put one and then give it a feel and then see how it's feeling, and then mark and place the other one. So we'll do the top first. Looking at a gargoyle puppet, hopefully I can get it done before Halloween. Try not to go over more of the details. Yeah, well, that's it, right? You can get really lost in the weeds with details. But since you mentioned, excuse me, Halloween, starting on Wednesday, although I am participating in the day off Twitch on Wednesday, so I will only be streaming on YouTube on Wednesday, FYI. That's what I'm going to start. I'm going to start building Halloween stuff for the shop. So that's going to be fun. We're going to do a ghost and a bat and a goblin. And that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, it is time to start thinking about all the Halloween stuff, right? Okay. So, I gotta dry this glue, so we're muting the mic. Again, this is gonna happen a lot, YouTube. Get used to it. Yeah, that flex foam sounds interesting. All right, here we go. Gluing down the finger loop. Now, in the little BJ Geyer trick here, contact cement works with pressure. That's what really locks the glue in place. So you take some pliers here and really pinch and squeeze that leather down onto the surface. Really get it nice and squished. Because we're not stitching this. Technically we could. Yeah, that's a good point, Heath. Cracking at the mouth edges for that expanding polyfoam. You may want to, like when you've done the first cast, actually carve out a little Pac-Man shape, and then just put some regular polyfoam in there to prevent that possibility. All right, let's see. What do we think? Feels all right. It does seem a bit inclined to lift off, though. That's not great right there. Mouth is actually pre-sculpted. Okay. Okay. Now this glue isn't quite dried yet, so I think... Yeah, it'll... I think for things for the store, I will laminate the plastic. Just because I don't like how much this wants to lift off. For Jelly Roll, however, since this is for me and for the YouTube channel, I can always repair Jelly Roll later. So I'm gonna go ahead with the thumb loops, or the thumb loop, as is, and we'll just do it like this without lamination. So that seems about right. We'll just kind of halfway between the two. But yeah, it does want to lift off a little bit. So I would not do it like this for the store. What I'll do often with a plastic mouth plate, the Twitch folks will know this, is I'll laminate. I'll put like a layer of ultra suede on it and wrap it around the edges, so it's basically like I'm covering the whole thing in a very thin layer of ultra suede. And the ultra suede takes barge really well, so it prevents things like this lifting off, right? But that's what I will do for store things. But for this is just for me, so we're doing it kind of quick and dirty. So, get our barge on there. Not too much this time. Also, maybe a thing is I put too much glue on. And barge is, or contact cement in general, is counterintuitive in that the less you use too much, that it does not stick. All right, hairdryer time yet again. YouTube people are discovering that I have a terrible habit of holding things off of camera. Look, you can have your live stream, you can have your puppets built right. You can't have both. I'll offset this a little bit because my thumb is about there. And since I'm building this for me, we can do that. My gut says this needs to be more further forward, but let's just see. Oh, actually, no, it's all right. I think I am going to put it a little further forward before we go walking it again out. Yeah. That's the nice thing about building a puppet, either for yourself or for somebody who you have access to, is you can tailor it to that specific person's physiology, right? When I'm building for the store, I don't have that luxury. Hairdryer time yet again. I guess for the YouTube folks, we should actually do the tour. The Twitch folks are used to this already, but we've got a lot of cameras. So as you can see, we've got this shot. We have the chatting and sewing shot. We have this shot, which is look over my shoulder, and this is the one where I can actually hold things up real close to the screen, and hopefully autofocus works. There we go. And then we have this, and this is for when I'm showing off a puppet. So we have a lot of cameras. 5, I think, total. Yeah, it's a lot. But I think it, it helps. Okay, so we're putting this more towards the front and offset a little bit. Yeah, try that. I'm gonna trim off a little bit of that too. Yeah, it's tough to, a lot of times, right, like you're working on something that's really close. That's one of the reasons, other than just chatting, that I have this camera for when I am working on something really close. Hello, Racav1. How are you? I'm glad to see the emotes still work. I don't know. I guess that will go away. You can't sub to me on Twitch anymore. I took off affiliate so I could multi-stream. The nice 4K camera and my cell phone. Yeah, well, that's, gosh, to explain what all the cameras are. I do have one nice camera. This camera isn't bad. This one's an actual DSLR. But This is the camera I shoot the Oracle on, so this is a nice 4K. And the reason that I use that for the puppet cam is because that's always just set up in the corner, ready to go for the show, right? Wrong camera. There we go. Speaking of which, once this rebuild of Jelly Roll is done, I will be shooting a new episode of the Oracle. So, hopefully look forward to that. Trim off a little bit of this. I don't like how this is lifting off. This is not great. I think we have our answer to the experiment of, will the leather lift off the plastic? And the answer is, of course, you idiot. It feels pretty good, though, I gotta say, that as grips go. Those aren't gonna slip out. Oh, actually, now that ooh, that's not bad. All right, I'm still gonna laminate in future, but making sure the unfinished side, that's the important thing. Making sure the unfinished side is down. Okay, we've got that. We've got a workable mouth plate. This will be improved on for the store builds, but for this build of Jelly Roll, it'll do just fine. Next, we got a couple of patterns for Jelly Roll's head. So we can get rid of some of this stuff. Won't need the barge quite that much now. The tape is done. I always try to remember to put stuff back because I'm always losing stuff. Okay, we will need the pen. So here is a pattern for my smalls. And yes, I'm being an idiot and showing my pattern on camera. Whatever. Please don't rip me off, you know? It's just, this is part of the deal with your live streaming puppet building. Sometimes you got to show your patterns. So this is one of my standard store models. This is the small. And I'm going to base Jelly Roll's head on the small head. I need some cardboard here. I need to trace this out again. I need more than that, actually, because we're going to do two. Foam and fleece. So all I'm doing is an alteration of this pattern for Jelly Roll's head. And I want a pencil, these thin lines. So the foam and the fleece pattern are exactly the same, except for on the fleece I add a 1/4 inch for the inside lip. That's all. Fleece being stretchy. Sometimes you can get away with that, sometimes you can't. So what we're going to do right now is the foam. So I'm just tracing this out down to about there is where we're going to want the foam to end. And our dart, of course, and about there. So from this, I'm really just going to eyeball this. We want this to kind of curve around. And then we want to create just like a little scoop where the neck is going to go. That should be good. Not complicated, real simple. And then we're just going to cut this out. And this will be our foam pattern. Now, in terms of the type of foam I'm going to use for this, normally for a build like this, I would use reticulated foam or Scott foam. But Jelly Roll is so small that reticulated foam is quite scratchy against the skin. And it can actually be quite irritating. So whenever I make a puppet out of reticulated foam, I make sure that either it's big enough that there's no point at which it's actually touching the performer's skin, and if it is, I'll put some like polar fleece or something there to, you know, as like a little lining to make it soft, or I'll put a whole lining in the whole thing. But since this is just for me, and I can always make more, I'm actually going to build this whole skull out of upholstery foam, which is quite soft. It just means that this won't last as long as being made out of reticulated foam, but I'm not really worried about that. Not a major concern. There we go. There's our foam skull for Jelly Roll. Let me just mark that's what this is. So. Yes, reticulated foam. I can actually show the difference relatively easily. Here we go. So this is a big old chunk. Let's do this camera. This is a big chunk of reticulated foam. And if I put this close to the camera, there we go. You can see that the pores are really large. It has a low PPI, pores per inch count. But also the material is very kind of plasticky and scratchy. And this against your skin actually can be a bit of an irritant, whereas this stuff, which is upholstery foam, to hold this up, or just polyfoam, you can see it's much, the bubbles are much smaller. And this is very, very soft and it feels nice. The reason that most Pro Puppets are made out of reticulated foam is because reticulated foam is designed to let moisture evaporate. That's why the pores are so big. Literally, the liquid just wicks away. It's why like a lot of outdoor cushions and marine, like RV things are made with reticulated foam. Because inside a puppet's head, it gets hot and moist, and that can build up and get funky and break down. And you want to avoid that. So that's why you would use reticulated foam over polyfoam. Polyfoam is basically a sponge. It's just going to hold on to all that moisture and get funky quicker. We're avoiding funk. Is what it comes down to. But I'm not worried about that with this build. Reticulated foam can be a little tricky to find. It's also a lot more expensive. So when I'm going for a budget build, I use upholstery foam. Such as this, for example, because this is going to be pressed right up against me, and there's hardly any space in this head. So I want this to be nice and soft and feel nice. And I don't want to bother making a lining. So that's what we're doing for that. So there's Jelly Roll's skull. And so now we're going to do the fleece. The mouth pattern is going to be the same as the small. So I'll just reuse that. So once again, we're just tracing the original pattern right down to the neck. Now the neck is not going to be the same diameter as this. This is actually going to be thinner. I could measure it, I suppose, but I think what I'm going to do instead is just eyeball it. Again, the neck is going to be hidden under the turtleneck anyway, so if it's a little bit bunched or whatever, I can alter it as I go. What am I doing? I need a gauge. Do a seam allowance gauge. So we want to add about 1/4 inch onto the lip here, and this will create the curled inner lip. Get rid of this faux fur that's stuck on it. Go away, I said no. All right, so we take our seam gauge, and we've got this set to 1/4 inch. And we're just going to add 1/4 inch all the way down. And for this, we just can sort of continue the curve. A little bit funky, but it'll be fine. But yeah, there seems to be a number of puppet builders in our YouTube audience, which is interesting. Kind of makes sense, that over Twitch. But I don't know about y'all, but one of the things, like when I did BJ Geyer's course on the Stan Winston School, by the time I had arrived at that, I had already been building for a while, so I kind of knew technically most of the things he was talking about. But what was super valuable was just watching somebody else who'd been doing this for a while, just watching them work and seeing their process and even seeing them make mistakes, you know, and knowing that, oh, that's okay. You know, that's part of it, is making mistakes. That was super valuable. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for these streams, is like, you know, if you are a puppet builder, you know, I've been moderately successful in this industry, so I'm not necessarily doing tutorials, but maybe you'll gain some insight, or maybe you can give me some insight. It's a little community, you know? So what I'm going to do here, I think, for the neck, I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. I'm just going to go about there. There. That's probably about right. Again, this is going to be hidden by the turtleneck, so you're not going to see this. I'm not Ridley Scott. I don't worry about the things you don't see on camera. Adam Savage got me into the puppet thing. I found you, then I found Perception Studios and Adam Kruger. Oh, that's an interesting trajectory. I thought everybody found Adam Kruger first, but that's kind of wild that you found me before Adam Kruger. Adam Kruger is like the godfather of puppet builders online. But yes, Adam Savage is big into puppet stuff too. He's good people. We like Adam. We like both of those Adams. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, by all means, I am more than happy to share what I know or learn something new. If you have comments. Oh, I always forget to cut the dart out. Always. And the other thing is, like, please don't think anything I'm doing is being like the canonical way of doing it. There really isn't a canonical way. There are best practices, and sometimes I actually don't do the best practices. So, you know, I'm not here to like go, oh, this is how you build puppets. This is how I build puppets. May or may not be the best way to build puppets. That's a good story, Nick. I have a very similar tale, except for my gap between stopping puppetry stuff and starting up again was like almost 30 years. So, you know, it doesn't matter when. All that matters is that you do it. But yes, I think a lot of people have a very similar tale. I like how these feel. I really do like how these grips feel. And we'll be doing these from now on. Okay, we actually have some patterns now. So I'm going to put the small pattern back in the envelope because I try to keep everything in one place. I realized in the days that you mentioned that you built 5 puppets. Awesome, first of all. And second, you know, I have the Etsy store, and so Etsy obviously tracks everything. And I realized the other day that I had made, just for sale, not for me, I had made over 105 puppets since I started. Like, well, okay. That's a lot of puppets, actually, when you think about it. Now, of course, there's tons of people who've made way more than me, but I was like, 100. I can't even picture 100 puppets in my head. Thankfully, people buy them, so they're not just hanging around. Okay, so we're going to build the skull, which is quite small, so I may have enough foam. It's kind of kicking around under the work table here. Here we've got some nice white fleece. This is going to be for the ghost that we're going to make. 100 is a lot. That snuck up on me. I hadn't really been counting, right? And I was like, okay. And that's not including, what I've made for the Oracle or just myself. Kermit back there. You can't see Kermit right now. There's kind of Kermit. We're not going to get both sides of that, but we'll get one. Just digging out my foam scraps here and seeing if I have any that are big enough to... maybe this one. Okay, let's go. So, speaking of best practices, there are several approaches to drawing a pattern on foam. Project Puppet recently had a really good video about an alternate way, not using a Sharpie, to trace a pattern onto foam. The problem is, as some of you may have encountered, when you draw a mark on polyfoam. Yes, I buy big rolls of upholstery foam. In Canada, where I am, I buy them from fabricville.com. They're relatively inexpensive. But yeah, I got a big old roll of upholstery foam. This is all 1/2 inch. I buy 1/2 inch and occasionally buy 1 inch. When you make a mark on foam like that, and then you go and cover this with fleece, fleece can be kind of sheer. Do I have any that I can show that with? Not on this camera, it won't even show up. Anyway, when you stretch fleece over this, if you have a mark on the foam, that'll probably show through. Ah, nice. More Canadians. Excellent. So what you want to do is when you do draw a pattern on foam, you want to make sure that when you put it together, you keep the marks on the inside. That's all. That's the simple way of avoiding that problem. I will demonstrate post haste. There's one, so we've got to make sure that when we trace this again, we flip the pattern. That's how we're going to be able to keep the marks on the inside. Is this going to fit? Come on, come on. Yes! Just fits. Always try and use up your scrap. One thing I really should have, and I say this every time, is I got to get some pattern weights, so I don't have to hold it down and do this whole Spider-Man thing as I'm tracing them out. Okay, there we go. So, cutting this out, we use, I gotta get a fresh one, razor blades. As always, follow safety precautions. Be very, very careful with your razor blades. They are sharp. And if they are not sharp, they are not razor blades. They are garbage. So these are a brand of hair shaper blades, Diane. This is what I usually get. Another popular brand is Persona. I have actually found these are a bit sharper than Persona. And Persona in Canada is actually kind of hard to get. These are fairly easy to get in Canada. I got these on, unfortunately, Amazon, although I will be, after the pandemic eases up, I will be searching for a local supplier. So, one difference between polyfoam like this, upholstery foam, and reticulated foam is in how it cuts. Reticulated foam is way easier to cut with a razor blade than polyfoam, because polyfoam is much more like rubbery, and so it resists being cut, it just kind of conforms around the blade, whereas reticulated foam being more rigid and plasticky, the blade just glides right through it. So I like to start off of the cut and then come into it just to make sure you're getting it accurately. Now, we may make alterations to this neckline once it's put together, but we'll see. This isn't intended to be reproduced. This is really kind of a one-off. I have the pattern, so if I ever need to rebuild Jelly Roll, I can do that. But for this particular build, if I have to do alterations afterwards, that's all fine. I don't like doing that, of course, for shop builds because I like to be able to reproduce those. What time is it? 12:06. So for the YouTube folks, I usually stream for about 2 hours, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays and Wednesdays, sometimes Fridays. I will be putting up like the live stream event thing on YouTube. So you can just click a little thing and get a reminder. I'm still getting used to how YouTube handles all the live stream stuff. It's a little bit different from how Twitch does it. Okay. And of course, the dart I always forget to cut out. There we go. Okay, so one thing I always do with my razor blades. Twitch, you can watch them. Interesting point. Thank you, Heath. I'll keep that in mind. Well, on Wednesday, I'm only going to be streaming on YouTube and not Twitch, so you're in luck. This is an old container from some super glue. I always put, if I have a razor blade that's in use, I always put it in this, close it up, and now I don't have a naked blade rattling around on my work surface because I am clumsy and I will hurt myself. So this is me trying to be responsible and careful. So we're going to put this skull together. So as we had talked about, we have some of the black marks here from the marker. We want to make sure that's on the inside. That's the only real parameter there. We get our barge. We have our ventilation going. If I wasn't on stream, I would be wearing a respirator as well. So I'm working with this stuff. You don't want to inhale too much barge. It's bad for you. And, as always, not too much glue. It is very easy to overdo it with the contact cement. You really just want a very light, thin coat. A lot of people like to do a stipple method when they're putting it on. They don't like to brush barge. Brushing barge is bad is a common kind of catchphrase. I've never had much luck with the stipple method. I actually prefer brushing barge. I know it's wrong and bad, but whatever, I'm wrong and bad. Again, there are guidelines, there are no rules. If something works for you, do it. If it doesn't work, don't do it. So I brush barge. I should get a t-shirt that says I brush barge, and then like the 6 people on the planet who knows what I'm talking about will get a big chuckle out of it. Yeah, it's a bit tricky, particularly because this stuff is yellow and a lot of reticulated foam is yellow. So if it's the same color, it can be a bit tricky. It's always better to go light and do 2 coats than go too heavy. Okay, Time for the hair dryer. Also, if I wasn't on stream, I probably wouldn't be using the hair dryer. The hair dryer is fine, but what it can do is it can sort of dry the surface and not the layer underneath kind of thing, and so the bond isn't quite as good. But the hair dryer will be fine for this. Muting the mic. Never mind, I missed. I missed doing the chin on both of them. See? You're talking and working at the same time. Well, I bet the YouTube people are a little... Anybody who's familiar with the Oracle and hasn't seen any of the live stream stuff yet, I do slip into doing Frankie every now and then, it's true. Frankie is kind of my super ego, so... You'll hear Frankie come out quite a lot. Okay, now, now that I've got it on all the surfaces. All right, so like we were saying, we want to make sure that the marker is on the inside. So the first thing we're going to do is close up those darts, making sure that we're curving it in the correct direction to keep the marks on the inside. And now we're just going to join the two together, making sure that we're nice and even. And keep that surface nice and flat. We're not pinching just yet. We just want to kind of get this seated. And then we're going to roll the edges together. And then we're going to pinch. My subconscious does speak in Frankie. It's true. Well, the super ego is the thing that's sitting on your shoulder and watching all the things you do and commenting on it, right? And that is very much what Frankie is for me. I love performing Frankie. I love all my characters, but I love performing Frankie particularly is the easiest for me to kind of get into character because there's a little... I don't know if it's chicken and egg, if it's like Frankie came first and then it's just how my my super ego found its voice. But that's basically it. Frankie is just always here. So there we go. There's our little skull. It's a good size. You see, it's nice and snug. Wow, that went fast. So now we're going to glue the mouth plate in. This is going to be interesting because I haven't done it with these kind of grips before. Let's see how that fits. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I can see this. I got a feel for this. We're just gonna forge ahead and just do it. Did I create one? Yes, this is a 100% original Kevin Blaze creation. The Smalls. It's really simple. Let me show you the... So, my goal with this design was to make a puppet as small as I could, yet still have it be comfortably operated by an adult. That was the whole goal for this. And I also wanted it to be a kind of throwback design to a very simple, like Wilkins and Watkins, early Henson era. And so this was about the 5th or 6th iteration of this. I changed the shape and the style and the form and everything, and this is what I ended up with. And this is what's on the Etsy shop. I have one pattern I modified, but 2 of the patterns I got from Monkey Voice Productions. I have also Kevin's Goblin. Ah, nice, but I haven't built that yet. Yeah, I should probably build one of the goblins. Oh, that'd be a good idea. We're gonna do that in like another week or two. I'll build a goblin on stream, and that will kind of help people who do buy the goblin pattern kind of see exactly how I do it, because I know there's going to be people that'll help out. So, and yeah, altering patterns is a great way to get going. I mean, that I literally hand drew. In fact, one of the stream archives on the YouTube channel is me developing the goblin pattern, and then literally just hand drawing. You can start, you don't have to get into the clay maquette covered in tape thing to start with. You can start just by drawing stuff and then putting it together and seeing the shape and then iterating on that. It's a really fun way of doing it. If you don't have a specific thing in mind already, and you just want to mess around, it's a really good way of doing that. So now we're going to glue the mouth plate in. So we're going to put glue all around the rim of the mouth and then on the inside of this, and then we're just going to stick it in and see how it goes. Yeah. I think, this is just me talking now, but I think that this YouTube thing is going to work out. Don't worry, Twitch viewers, I'm not leaving Twitch. We can multi-stream. What I might do, though, is upgrade my software to vMix, because vMix does multi-streaming natively. So I won't have to go to restream.io for all my streaming stuff. We'll just see about that. It's a bit of money. It's a bit of money I don't have right now, so... Sell some puppets first. Then we'll talk. Okay, so I'm remembering that this is going to get glued on the inside, so I'm putting the glue down on the inside rim of the mouth plate. If I was doing a rolled lip, I'd put it on the other side. But smalls are a little small for a rolled lip. Monkey Boys, I like a lot of their patterns. They're really cool, and they're a lot like Project Puppet in that a lot of people start with them, and they're really, really great kind of not beginner, but I mean, because I still use a lot of Project Puppet patterns as a base to then alter yourself and iterate on. I mean, I like simple designs. I like early Henson designs, so I don't get very complicated. I like minimalist forms. So those kind of things are just perfect. I think probably Frankie may be the most complex visually puppet I ever built. Don't you forget it, not. Okay. I should be wearing gloves for this, FYI. And I'm not. I'm going to sneeze, so hang on. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Hairdryer time again. I'm with you, Nick. I love monsters. Jelly Roll here is the closest I've ever done to like a human. I didn't even do noses until relatively recently. Yeah, love me some monsters. Absolute favorite by a long shot. Okay, this is actually a little awkward to put in because of the grips. That's the downside. Let's see what we can do. Come on. a little fiddly. Is it on camera? More or less. Alright, get up in there, you. Come on. Be nice. Be kind. I'm on stream. Don't embarrass me. Here we go. There we go. Yay. Wow. Oh, wow. Those grips are fantastic. Woo. And there we go. There's our skull. Not bad, everyone. Now, if I could have some skin, give me some skin, get it? Because that's funny. We've got this. One of the advantages of doing this kind of double hinged metal plate, a little plate in the back, is you get this nice backward and forward motion like that. Yeah, those grips feel great. I'm doing these from now on. Okay. Excuse me, I have to blow my nose now. I don't know, I get the window open and allergens are coming in. I was gonna do a live hands monster relatively soon, but I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna concentrate on smaller things for the shop for Halloween. So in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing a live hands monster. With a blink mech, or an eyebrow mech, I should say. Yeah, that's good. Just kind of getting a feel for how these grips work and if I want to reposition them or redesign them or something. I think it still needs a little bit of work. I don't know, I got to think about it. They're definitely better than the elastic straps, but still feels a little bit loose. Anyway, so now that we've got the skull built, we're gonna do the skin. This means, YouTube friends, you get to watch me doing hand sewing. It's gonna be riveting. The Twitch folks already know I lament every time I have to do a lot of hand sewing on stream because it's just dull, right? It's just me sitting here hand sewing. You can do a blink eyebrow mechanism. Yeah, so do you have plans for that? Or is it going to be like the traditional Adam Krutender style with the bent wire? Because that's how I do all mine. I haven't done any other version of that yet. So, I don't know, maybe we'll prioritize that and you'll see how, I'll show you how I do mine. It used to be a really big pain in the butt. I've kind of got used to it now. So it's less of a pain. It's still not great. I still don't love doing eyebrow mechs, but they're very popular. Eyebrow mech puppets will always be popular. So yeah, doing that. That's a very traditional. I mean, that's the Muppets use that, like Animal. That's what's inside Animal. Simplest is always best. So, okay, we need to get the fleece out. Let's get the fleece out. Excuse me, I have to stand up. I'm not sure how far the AI camera will go. Like, there's Frankie. See, there's Frankie. And the old Oracle. There we go. This is some Nile fleece, I believe. This is from George's Stage, actually. It's the same stuff as from Puppet Pelts. This is brand new. I haven't even used any of this yet. I'm going to make sure this is the same color. Yes, it is. Okay. Always check. He's got to match his hands at least. All right. So we've got our stretch going horizontally. Always important. And we're going to put our pattern down. This is doubled up. This is the reverse. This is the inverse side. So to mark this, oh, excuse me, I'm a little allergy. Let me see if it can see. That's not great. I use these air dry vanishing ink markers quite a lot for fleece because if you know, on a seam or something, if it does show through, these will eventually fade after like 24 to 48 hours. Of course, a fire alarm on the first day of work that we're open. Oh no. Be safe. None of Jelly Roll is going to be sewn on a machine. If it were, I'd be adding a seam allowance, but I hand sew. I'm going to hand sew this entirely, so just going to trace our pattern. And I think we're going to be hand sewing for the rest of the stream. Yeah, we got a half an hour left. But anyway, it's nice and chill. Get a chance to sit back and talk to folks. You know, it's fine. Hand sewing, I really quite enjoy hand sewing, and it's one of those times that that's when I catch up on my podcasts or I listen to music or something. Or if I'm live streaming, I talk to you folks. It's very pleasant. So I'm just gonna make sure we can quite light. Make sure I can see to cut this out. I could drape this and avoid this center seam. I can drape. I'm not super great at it. I need more experience with it. And that's probably something we'll do on stream as well. Let's do some more draping and get Kevin some experience with that, because I'm actually going to make this neck a bit longer just to give us some insurance. Yep, there we go. Hand sewing alert from Zep. It's a tradition. So now that I've got the pattern traced out, I'm just going to pop some pins in. I wish there was a way we could pipe chat back and forth. You know, if I have chat on, like if I embed chat on the stream, we can do that, but I really don't want to embed that into the video, right? Just in case we get some not so great people trolling us. I wouldn't want any of that embedded on the video. Let's face it, hate rating is a problem. It's one of the reasons why I am participating in the day off Twitch, despite the fact that who am I? I'm nobody. I'm small potatoes, right? But it's about collective action. So no, I don't think Twitch is going to miss me on Wednesday, but if enough people do it, they'll notice. Hopefully do something more than give lip service to the problem. Anyway, power went out like 3 or 4 times this week for 45 minutes an hour at my work last week. Yikes. We've been lucky so far. We've been pretty stormy, but we haven't had any outages so far. These are not the scissors I want. These are the scissors I want. These are my good fabric shears. I'm afraid I have to stand up for this, so see if the camera can track me or not. Probably also going to get my big stupid head in the way of the overhead camera. I apologize. Try and keep these cuts as clean as we can. These are the edges. There's no seam allowance here. This also wants to hit off the dresser. We don't want that. Let me rough cut this out just to stop it from being pulled off the work surface. And there we go. Add that to the pile. But you'll see, you can, when you're doing this kind of thing, you can kind of make decisions on the fly. Like I just decided to make this neck longer because, right, I'd rather have this give me a little bit more extra room to work with, and if I have to trim it later, I can. But it's much easier to take away fabric than it is to add fabric, so all good. I am trying to be careful. What you don't want with this kind of cutting is you don't want a lot of little jaggedy edges. You want to keep it nice and clean, straight lines. Here we go. So, how's this blue? It's a little dark. It's a little dark. I don't think I have anything closer though. Let me just check my thread colors here. What did I sew this one with? Looks like it's the darker one. Oh, wait, hang on. This might be closer. That's closer. Let me use this. Okay, folks, buckle up. It is hand sewing time. Look, I have some Kermit collar material here. Here's Kermit. Hi-ho. So, how is everyone? Better than it could have been for the hurricane, now tropical storm. I haven't seen any reports of deaths, but at least it wasn't a Katrina, right? Could have easily been. But no dropped frames. That's something, it's hard to monitor this in real time on both channels, so I'm not sure what y'all are seeing. Hopefully it looks okay. This one wants to poke me. I don't want it to poke me. So, it's just a matter of... So the stitch I'm using, puppet builders in the crowd might be interested in this. A lot of people like to sew this kind of seam with a ladder stitch. It's perfectly fine. I have come to really like a baseball stitch, but from the inside of the fabric, which is a bit unusual. But what I have found is, I mean, of course, the goal is to make this seam easy to blend. And that's why a lot of people use a ladder stitch, because what a ladder stitch does is if this is the outside, this is the inside. The ladder stitch will take it and kind of roll the fabric in like this, and then you can pick those fibers out and blend the seam. That's how that works. What a baseball stitch does, I have found, if you do that from the inside, it actually kind of pushes the fibers out like that. So instead of curling it in like this, it actually pushes it out like that. So you still have to blend it a little bit, but you don't have to blend it as much as a ladder stitch. And it's about the same strength as a ladder stitch because it's just one continuous string or seam. So it's just my little thing. It seems, from what I've been able to glean, it seems like the legendary Muppet puppet builder and designer, whose name, miraculously enough, was Kermit Love, and completely coincidental as well. It seems that was the stitch that he favored. So this is kind of my little tribute to the dearly departed Kermit Love. But But you can whip stitch this, you can ladder stitch this, you can do any stitch you want. You just want to be able to blend the seam easily. Don't even get me started on the quote-unquote Henson stitch. Maybe I should, because I'm sitting here hand sewing. Have you ever tried the draping method for fabricates? And yes, I have. In fact, Kermit's body is draped. I haven't done it a whole lot, which is something I would like to do more of, because then you can do things like you can avoid, or you can decide where you want the seams, right? I was better at it than I thought I would be when I did Kermit's body. It actually turned out pretty good, so I do want to do some more, but never for anything as complex as this. It needs like a mouth or something. But I definitely want to. It's kind of next on the skill set list. It's a whole art form in and of itself. There are people who can drape amazingly, and there are people for whom it is a challenging skill. I think I'm somewhere right in the middle. The hard part, I think, for me, with this kind of thing would be getting the mouth right. That's real tricky. Because I don't do the fold and glue method that BJ Geyer does for my mouth plates. I do the Adam Krutinger style sew and glue. So the mouth diameter kind of needs to be precise for that. You can't just kind of fudge it on the fly. So that, I think, would be the tricky part there. This thread really wants to tangle. Be nicer, thread. I also have pins that want to poke me. But this will be cool if this build works out, because, you know, Jelly Roll is going to be on the Oracle. And so the YouTube people are watching a puppet being built that's going to be on the show, and that's kind of cool. I'm the whole package. We do it all. Fortunately, doing the Oracle, which I love, has taken a bit of a back seat to building for the shop, which I also love, but that's my source of income, so it kind of has to be the priority over doing the Oracle. But there is more Oracle coming. That I promise you. Now, if I was doing this for the shop, I would like when I do a small, for example, for the shop. Those are mostly machine sewn. I do hand sew the darts and the mouth plate, just because I find I personally can't get the accuracy on the machine that I need for those kind of things. So I do hand sew those. But for something like Jelly Roll, anything that's going to be on the show, I'll spend the time. I'm going to say put the effort, but I put the effort into all my puppets. But I do spend the time to... Hand-sewn seams are always easier to blend. So that's why I'm doing this like this. And hand sewing is just nice. I enjoy it. I have a somewhat strained relationship with my sewing machine, so. It does go slow, though. As you can see, I've done this much, like 1.5 inches since we started, so, Sometimes it goes faster. It really all depends on... This thread is being very finicky. Probably because I've got fans going, so I've got a lot of breeze in here, so it wants to blow the thread around. And that gets it all twisty and tangled. Right now, Twitch and YouTube are neck and neck for viewers. It's not a competition. I love you both. We are polyamorous streaming platform holders. I'm starting school next week. I'm a teacher, and I bought a bunch of fuzzy socks to make into puppets with the class. What's a good eyeball for a sock puppet? Ping pong balls are a bit too big. Good question. So, if the ping pong balls are too big, unfortunately, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's smaller than that, other than I guess for a child's hand it would be quite small. So puppet pelts, you can get 35 millimeter domes that have safety backs on them, so they're probably be good for kids to build with. Buttons, good point, very good point. If you want the kind of white circle with the black dot in it, Puppet Pelts does sell these 35 millimeter domes that are quite good. I use them quite a lot on my Sonk puppets. If you go to my Etsy shop, you'll see Sonk puppets. I don't have any in the room with me, unfortunately. Although I do have some 35 millimeter domes. Hang on. I can, I don't know, I should get a kickback if I'm shilling for Puppet Pelts, but so there's a couple of different versions of them. But yeah, buttons, beads. Go to a craft store, like a Michael's or a Joann's or that kind of thing, and look in like the knitting and findings, I guess it is, section. I guess no, findings is more like hardware, but yeah, beads, stuff like that. But these are what you can get from Puppet Pelts. And these are the kind of Kermit style. So this is a 35 millimeter diameter. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong camera. Here we go. So yeah, these do come in a big pack. They come in a package of, this is the biggest one. I think this is, how many pairs it is? A lot. You got enough. Then again, for a whole class. Now these can be a little pricey, unfortunately. But I can show you the size difference between this and a ping pong ball. Yes, of course I have a bag of ping pong balls. But this is a standard, this is a regulation size 40 millimeter ping pong ball. And there's the 35 millimeter dome. You can see they're quite a bit smaller. So those are the smallest things I can think of that you would be able to get readily. But definitely go to a craft store and look at things like beads in like the knitting section and that kind of thing. Or buttons. Like if you can find some buttons that are just solid with a little sewing thing on the back, that's good. But yeah, the nice thing about these is they do have the safety backs. So they have these little metal discs, or in the case of these are flat ones. These aren't quite as dome-like. These are the same diameter. These are 35 millimeter, but you can see the profile of these is much flatter. But they have these like washers that kind of snap on the back of them, and they're quite good for that reason. And if you get these from Puppet Pelts, they even send pupils that you could just peel and stick with them as well. So that would be my suggestion. I don't know of anything off the top of my head that would be better, unfortunately. I'm sure there must be, but like I said, beads and buttons. A great idea for the buttons. Shove the bud. From Twitch. we're talking cross-platform now. Yes, buttons are a real strong contender there, I think. Yeah, they do come with the little felt pupils. I think they are felt, yeah. But that would be That would be my input off the top of my head. I'm sure there's probably something better. I mean, you gotta remember, the stuff I deal with is like I try and do like professional stuff. So if I had a very specific eye I needed to make like a specific size, I'd cast that in like epoxy resin, right? With a silicone mold. So, but definitely something like beads and buttons or those things from Puppet Pelts as well. If you don't know Puppet Pelts, puppetpelts.com are a supplier for professional puppet building materials, and they will have those blank eyes. They're not monstrously expensive. I don't buy a lot from Puppet Pelts just because I get hit with the exchange rate and duty. Oh, Kyle! How you doing? Nice. Yes, Kyle is a client and friend. Cool. Kyle gets to watch the live stream live. How do you like that? Kyle, FYI, those of you on YouTube, Kyle is an amazing artist, sculptor and illustrator and watercolor painter. Yes, do let me know how that goes with your class, Kyle. Yeah, Kyle, since I know that you're not in the States as well, Puppet Pelts may not be great to order from just because the duty. I always get hit with duty, and it's not cheap. So that's why, for example, the fleece I've started to use, I'm buying from Weird Kid's store now. The actual price of the fleece is about the same, but there's no exchange rate. There's less shipping because I'm closer, and there's no duty, right? So I literally end up paying about half of what I would pay from Puppet Pelts or Georgia Stage. It is an unfortunate fact of life. What I need to do is get in touch with Lori and Cindy and say, all right, we're opening a branch of Puppet Pelts in Canada. Let's franchise. Let's go. Where are we at time-wise? Whoa, 10 minutes left. So yeah, this is definitely... I'll probably get this seam done at the end of this stream. The good news is I have a whole bunch of leftover Chinese food for lunch. And I'm quite looking forward to that. So faster. So I think we can say that the multi-streaming YouTube and Twitch experiment went quite well. I'm pleased. I think we will continue Why did I say that like Kermit? Probably because Kermit's sitting over my shoulder, judging me. I don't think Kermit's very judgmental at all. No, well, there's more than one way to do a stitch. One thing I will say, I do notice the delay. That's the only thing that I'm not crazy about in chat between me doing a thing and then chat commenting on it. There is more of a delay than there is normally if I'm just streaming directly to a platform, which I mean makes sense because I'm streaming to restream.io and then it's streaming out, so there's going to be like a couple of seconds of delay added. But I wonder if that would be the case with vMix. Maybe we'll find out. Quite warm in here, but thankfully it hasn't got too insane. I could actually close the window, excuse me, now that I'm not using the contact cement anymore. All right, we're 3 minutes. We're gonna finish this particular seam and then we're gonna call it for the day. So I think I set it up for the YouTube thing that these streams automatically get archived into a playlist. I'll double check that to make sure. I will manually save it if it doesn't. So it can be viewed at a later time. I don't know, out of curiosity, since this is the first live stream I've done on YouTube, I don't know if YouTube saves the chat with it. I think it does, like Twitch does. See, of course, the nice thing here is YouTube doesn't delete the VODs after 2 weeks or whatever it is for Twitch. That's always the thing, because like sometimes I'll build a puppet that gets purchased by somebody on the Etsy store, and I'd like to say, oh, hey, would you like to see your puppet being built? And I'll send them to the VOD. But if the VOD is too old, then Twitch deletes it, right? So I don't record every stream locally. If it's something special, I will, but this I'm not recording locally, for example. But if it's streaming to YouTube as well, YouTube will save it until I decide to delete it. So, okay, seam done. So, look at that, perfect time. That'll do it for today. Next stream will be this Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the new folks on YouTube. And that'll do it. So hopefully we'll see you all on Wednesday. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go have my leftover Chinese food. Have a good day, everyone.